everybody, and welcome back to more political chatter. In this video, we will be talking about the 2024 presidential election, specifically in the state of Arizona, and its major importance heading into the 2024 general election. So we have our matchup. It will be Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, despite how unpopular this matchup is. And, as in every presidential election, we do have a pretty clear understanding of how the vast majority of electoral votes will go. All of the states filled in red. I would be genuinely shocked, and I think that everyone else would be, if they went to Joe Biden. All the states that are filled in blue, it would be a genuine shock, unrealistic looking at it right now, for these states to go Republican. So that puts Joe Biden at a lead with 221 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 189, and it leaves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 states plus 1 district up for grabs. These will be the states that decide the 2024 election. These states make up a combined 128 electoral votes. 270 are needed to win the presidency. Now, there are a couple where they could go to the other party, but it is probably not going to happen. I mean, we do really, have a solid understanding of which way they're going to go. That would be a state like New Hampshire, which went to Biden by 7.4%, a very healthy margin in 2020. That would be a state like Florida that only went to Trump by 3% in 2020, but as you can see, he increased his win from 2016 of 1.2%. We'll go here, you could see this is the shift from 2016 to 2020. And all of the states that are blue means that it shifted towards the left. So Texas went towards the left by 3.4%. In 2020, Oklahoma 3.3, Indiana 3.1, Massachusetts 6.3, Connecticut 6.4. So you can see that, and you can see that there are only a handful of states that went more Republican in 2020 than 2016, Florida being one of those. So you can see how it is trending towards the right. But it will even more in 2024, looking at the massive amount of new Republican Party registration among voters. That has just been enormous for the party. Governor DeSantis' major re-election win by 20 percentage points back in 2022. Latinos really trending towards the right in huge numbers. We can definitely expect Florida to go Republican. But I'm talking about these other states too much because this video really is about Arizona. So I will get to that in a second. But it is important to see how the rest of the map plays out to highlight the importance of this state in 2024. Looking now at the state of Nevada, polls are absolutely showing an insane win for Donald Trump. I mean, this might really, wait, is this it? Okay, well, it's definitely narrowed up a lot. Back in November, it was showing, it was consistently like Trump was ahead by 10 or 8, or he was ahead by 12 in the New York Times Siena College poll. But now, as you can see, it has narrowed up. That is the case for many of these polls. But I definitely think with this trending Latino population towards the right, that we can see Nevada, or that we can expect to see Nevada go to Donald Trump. But, I honestly am becoming less certain of this day by day. North Carolina, honestly, just by logic, considering that Trump won it in 2020 and he won it by 1.3, he won it by how much? 3.7 back in 2016. I definitely think that North Carolina will stay under his belt, even though Joe Biden and the Democrats are targeting this state. I don't know if it will be enough to flip it. I think that they should focus on keeping the states that they won in 2020. Nebraska's second may get interesting because the Nebraska legislature may just make it a statewide vote instead of awarding electoral votes by congressional district. But assuming that doesn't go into action by Election Day, it went to Biden by 6.6% in 2020, so that will stay with Biden as of now. So that leaves us with 5 of the really core swing states. I mean, if you go back to 2020, Biden won Arizona. Biden won all 5 of these states, mind you. But he won Arizona by 0.3, Georgia by 0.2, Wisconsin by 0.6, Michigan by 2.8, and Pennsylvania by 1.2. So looking at Wisconsin, it was the state that voted for Joe Biden by the least amount in 2020 and voted for Trump by the most. Of the blue wall, of course. Not of every other state. Not more than Wyoming in 2016. And looking at polling, this is the one state where um, Joe Biden is actually leading in some polls. In a select few, yeah. So in the Wall Street Journal polls, he leads by a little bit, but Donald Trump still does lead in most polls. But back in 2020, Biden was leading these polls by 8% in the state of Wisconsin before Election Day. 8%. He ended up winning by 0.6. So that just shows you how in some states polling just always skews towards the Democrats, or so in the case of a state like Nevada, skews towards the Republicans. So we will see, but as of now, I definitely think that Trump is favored in a state like Wisconsin. I don't think that Michigan and Pennsylvania are really Republican enough to vote for Donald Trump. I mean, 2.8 and 1.2 are not, margins of victory where it's basically 50-50 like Arizona where it was 0.3 or Georgia where it was 0.2. No, you actually have I guess you could say a somewhat, substantial, I mean not substantial, but a clear lead that actually exists in these two states. I currently think that Biden, considering the amount of money and the strong campaign that he's running, that he will win the critical Michigan and Pennsylvania. Now, we also have Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the race, who is pulling African Americans away from the Biden campaign in really stunning numbers, and this could destroy Joe Biden. I really think it will in the South. If he hasn't lost enough African American support, Kennedy will just add salt to the wound, and that Georgia will go to Donald Trump. Now, as I've said in other videos, in a community post specifically, maybe not Nevada, but I mean, these states, I am fairly certain. For the first time, I'm sure karma will get me and this will be completely wrong. But I find myself fairly certain that this will be the map. I mean, I am pretty sure that Wisconsin and Georgia will flip Republican. I would say it is pretty probable that Michigan and Pennsylvania, despite Trump's lead in polling, does stay with Joe Biden as of right now. And I just really do think that Nevada won't vote for Joe Biden again. I just don't see Latino voters turning out for Biden as they did, or like they did in any sort of way in 2020 or even in the 2022 midterms for the Democratic candidates. So that leaves one state, that being the state of Arizona. And as I said, I really think that this will be the one that decides this election. This will be a historically close election, before Arizona is called. That is 267 for Trump and 260 for Biden. Whoever wins Arizona wins the presidency. And that is why this election is so historic. I mean, it is sure. Really, I'm very confident that this election, electoral count wise, will be incredibly close. I mean, this is really an election that will be decided by 6 states: Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. And as of right now, it's looking like those states will be split up fairly fairly it will be distributed fairly equally. Michigan, Pennsylvania, that's 34 electoral votes going to Biden from those two states. And then you've got 26, and then you got 32 from Wisconsin, Georgia, and Nevada going to Donald Trump, just about the same. So that brings you to a electoral count or where both candidates are incredibly close to 270 electoral votes, and it all comes down to Arizona. Now, in the state of Arizona, it was the closest state vote-wise of the 2020 election. If you remember, this took days and days and days to count. You know, the election was called on Saturday. The election occurred on Tuesday, and then the race was called when Pennsylvania went to Biden on Saturday. Arizona had not been called yet. Well, it was interesting because Fox News actually called Arizona on election night, but other networks did not, and that was because Biden had this huge lead. Um, and it got a lot closer than it was originally looking like it would. So, while Fox News called it on election day, all the others who did not had to call it, had or ended up calling it like a week after election day. So the point is, it was really, really close. It was decided by 11,000 votes. Even in Georgia, where the margin, the percentage wise, the margin was narrower. It was decided by 0.24%, while Arizona was decided by 0.31. In Georgia, let's see, the actual vote margin was larger than in Arizona. Let's see, it was 12,000 votes, so not by much, just by 1,000 votes, which I was not expecting, I'll admit. But still, it holds true. Arizona was decided by 11,000 votes out of, let's see, 3.3 about million votes cast. 3.3 million votes cast. Arizona goes to Biden by 11,000 votes. So this is, in today's presidential elections, an incredibly close state. One that is not necessarily a must-win for a presidential campaign. Considering that it's not like Pennsylvania with 19 electoral votes, it only has 11. It's not make or break for a presidential campaign. But despite that, it is one that is so close. I mean, you typically don't really see states in any elections that are decided by 11,000 votes, or 0.3%. I mean, that is very, very rare in American elections, especially a large statewide election like this. So it will be very important in this 2024 election. Even with just 11 electoral votes, they will decide the winner of this election, and I am pretty sure of that, considering this current electoral map. Now, on who will win the state of Arizona and the presidency, when, just taking a look at polling, I think that polling is not dead wrong, but pretty dang wrong, looking at this election so far. I mean, I don't think that they are anywhere close in Michigan and Pennsylvania. A lot of these polls are showing huge wins, like 6 to 8 point wins for Trump, some of them at least, in states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. I mean, that is not happening. I think that Biden is favored in Michigan and Pennsylvania. I think that polling might be more wrong this year than it was in 2016. Well, that might be a stretch. Yeah, definitely not. But in Arizona, the polls are all favoring Trump. But looking at 2020, let's just see here. Biden was ahead. So, if Trump is up now and, Biden, well, let's see, on average, Biden was ahead by 2.6 the day, or on election day, according to polling. And it was decided by 0.3, as I said, so that is a 2.3% overperformance for Joe Biden in 2024. In 2020. So in 2024, you've got now Trump leading by 3. I mean, then logic tells you, if polls overestimated Biden back in 2020 by about 2%, then Trump would win by 5. Now, that is, of course, something to consider, because even as wrong as polling might be, you should always consider it when analyzing these such close races. However, I don't think that Trump would possibly win the state of Arizona. And I do think that the reason that I think that many of these polls are going to be so off on election day is because the Biden campaign really hasn't kicked in yet. I mean, they have, $300 million that they have not spent, while the Trump campaign has about $35 million. Biden is crushing it with the money, and the campaign really hasn't launched into full gear, and for good reason. I mean, it's not like they should spend all of their money now, months and months and months before election day, when, voters by election day might forget the ads they ran or the campaign stops that Biden took in the states or whatever the campaign does, using their money and resources and time. So that will be, something that we always have to keep in mind is that this campaign hasn't even started. I mean, the Biden campaign has not gone anywhere near full gear, while it looks like Donald Trump has. I mean, I don't know what else Donald Trump could be doing from now before or until election day to continue. I mean, Biden is the president of the United States. He actually has a job. Donald Trump doesn't really have anything going on, and I feel like he could be doing a lot more. And he could. The campaign, did really well in the primary. They're running a much better campaign than they did in 2020, but still they are lacking behind the very strong, very organized, very uniform Biden campaign in a lot of ways. But still, just the mood of the country, the state of these polls, the state of voters' minds about this country, I really think that Trump is favored in Arizona, and I do think that this is the electoral map as of now, which would put Donald Trump over 270 at 278 to 260, a really historically close presidential election. But it does show you how uneasy this is for Biden to win. I mean, the narrative was just a month or two ago that this race, like as of then, was over. I mean, if the election had been held a month ago or 2 months ago, Trump would have absolutely crushed Biden. That was just the belief that everyone had. But since then, it really has appeared to narrow up, and Biden could easily win this election with a win in Arizona or lose Arizona, just a win in Wisconsin, just holding that blue wall. That's all he needs. And he wins by 2 electoral votes, which is absolutely insane. So thank you all for watching this video. Make sure you all go ahead and subscribe. That would help me out a lot. Again, I hope you enjoyed. Drop a comment, and I will see you all next time.